Hello and welcome back to Big Trouble in Little Podcast, the movie ranking show. I'm Andy.
I'm Chaz.
Zach.
And I'm Dubs.
Gotcha.
It was really quick. We'll figure it out. We're getting there.
Yeah.
This is episode number 311. We're on the second month of Black History Month. We're discussing Fences. Whose pick was this? I don't even remember.
Mine.
Dubs' pick. Dubs' pick of Fences from 2016. Dubs, why'd you choose this movie?
It's good. It's gonna be a really lame response. Short on YouTube Shorts, they usually show like clips of the movie.
Oh yeah.
And usually it showed the part where Viola Davis's character is like crying after she finds out about like being cheated on, and then the other part where he beats up his son. Well, they get into a fight essentially.
Yeah. More spoilers. Goddamn.
Yeah. The good parts. I mean, not saying like I was like hell yeah, fuck yeah, but like I was just like
yeah, ruin that family. Oh boy.
Yeah. Dub saw despair and violence and said, "This movie's for me. This is exactly what I want."
And plus, I love Denzel. You can't go wrong with Denzel.
I was gonna say, Dub saw Denzel Washington. He said, "Wow, I like that guy."
Yeah, I chose the white man pick and be like, I know Denzel. He's good. And
does he direct a lot of movies? He directed this. Does he direct a lot of other things?
I'm gonna go check that out, but
I think this was his directorial debut.
It was.
Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah, the only reason I know that I researched this movie a bit last year because it was on the chopping block. I had nearly picked this movie last year when we did Denzel Washington month, but it just didn't quite make the cut. I had another movie I wanted to watch more, so I was very glad to see Dubs pick this. So
yeah,
I wanted to watch Malcolm X, but whatever.
Yeah, it seems like it's his debut. He came out with another one in 2021 called A Journal for Jordan. I don't know what that is, but yeah,
that one doesn't even. I haven't even heard of that. Why is this movie called Fences and not Fence?
I don't know, but to me, it feels like this is maybe me reading things wrong, just like how I read the Twilight Zone episode wrong. But like the fences, he's keeping out death essentially, and I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why he's creating a fence. I don't know, but I don't know.
Probably got to do with that quote him and his buddy had, and they're talking about him having that relationship with that woman. It's like, people build fences to keep things out or keep them in. Whoa.
Yeah.
Maybe he built emotional fences to keep people out.
He did.
Well, also baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has something to do with baseball and so the other thing too, this movie is actually an adaptation of a play from the 80s.
It's very obviously a play. Like,
yes.
You can be like 30 minutes in the movie and be like, this is a play. Because everything takes place on the porch, in the front room, in the kitchen, or the backyard. And you can see that's the set on the stage. And that's just the whole play. It's just in those 4 rooms.
Yeah. And I like that. I mean, I think I said it on the show before. Like, usually when there's one setting, I mean, just think of 12 Angry Men, right? Remember that movie? It was just in one room. Yeah. And it's just like, that means coming down to writing is a must, because if you don't have the writing in, such small settings, it's going to suck. And obviously, I enjoyed this movie as far as the writing. I thought it was great. I thought it showed everybody's emotions. You saw the racial background and tendencies that were happening during that time. You saw his bitterness of what his career in baseball, especially when they're throwing out like Hank Aaron and Roberto Clemente is like actually doing good things, and he's like, yeah, but they're gonna get sit down eventually because what happened to me.
A lot of good acting from Troy. The whole thing. I was trying to like figure out, wait, what year is it? And they were saying all those players. And I was like, well, it's in the 50s. I never did nail down an exact date.
Yeah. So if it helps too, I was looking at this. It's really interesting. So this is actually a series, like in terms of the play, called. It's part 6 of a 10-part Pittsburgh cycle, and all of the plays are just different experiences and African American lives and culture within the 50s in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Like that's the entirety of the story. But this one was like the play itself it won a Pulitzer Prize and a Tony in the 80s. So I mean, like this was the standout amongst the 10 parts. But yeah, we can keep talking about the story itself. I did wonder too, like it was enough time that like based on his story too, he clearly like missed a significant gap of time when he was in prison, when he talks about like what happened to him before. But the thing that's most significant about what he missed is, you know, he missed World War II. Like he was in prison the whole time during World War II, and then it's not like he effectively got out right after, and then kind of had the aftermath of what happened to his brother, and then of course his age, he was too old to make it anywhere playing in the Negro leagues. Like it sounds like he had a little bit of resentment for that, right? Because he's like, I'm still good enough to keep playing, but he's kind of that Uncle Rico. Like I can hit that ball over those mountains over there.
Definitely. That's what I thought it was. It was like he was like, "Oh, I'm hot shit. I was always the best. They just didn't see it." And I think everyone around him was always kind of like, "Yeah, but no."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure he was like above average or something, but yeah, like his age held him back and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this reference, and I hope Andy recognizes it. It's kind of like Adam Dunn for the Cincinnati Reds, where he would swing at majority of the pitches, and he would usually strike out. But when he hit that ball, it was fucking gone, and that's what happened near the end. I think when
he's also old.
yeah, he's like 41 or something like that. But Lions or something like that. The other son, the older son, the 34-year-old, he told the Marine kid, Cory, I believe. You know, he's always struck out, but when he hit that ball, he hit it over the stadium, like beyond the seats, because that's what he was swinging for. And yeah, maybe because what annoyed me through Troy's, you know, character was not the things that he was saying. Well, kind of, but he was like gaslighting everything a little. Like he would say something nice, but then he would always be combative. And I think I enjoyed his character development in that, of seeing him struggle with emotions, essentially. It was so good to see Denzel Washington do that. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Really good. Dialogue's good. The acting's good. Zach, we haven't heard from you. What do you think about this movie? Anything?
It was pretty good. Yeah, I was really impressed with Denzel, his acting, of course. Trying to think. I kind of wish there was a little bit more different scenes or something than what we got. You know, like you was talking about how this is like, you can tell this is a play.
Yeah.
Like they went to a bar one time, and I was like, well, it'd been nice if they could have gone to the bar maybe a couple more times. Mm-hmm. Maybe talk to a couple different people or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like he kept referencing like he had other friends he was seeing or something, or whatever.
Well, he was lying. He was seeing that woman, right? Probably.
Well, that could have been lying, but also that's what he was doing up until he went and did that too. You know, maybe one of those things. Like, I was telling the truth, I did that. But, you also never see this other woman at all. She's just invisible.
I like that. I liked that choice.
Yeah, I did too. I like the fact that you don't know who the other person is, and it almost seems convenient that they kill her off in the dilemma of what happens. But I mean, again, it's fitting because it doesn't matter who she is, what she looks like. In the essence of the story, for what's created there, it's more about his decision to do what he did and how they move forward from there, less than it is about the actual triangle that's there. I don't know. I like the decision that they took to just have it on the side, which normally I don't know if I would, but I think with how this movie played out, I think I actually liked it more that they didn't introduce this other character and make it complicated.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess counteracting to what Zach said, I like how few characters and how few places there are to it. Like, there's something nice about a play, sort of. opposed to like, more traditional movie, like there could be 1,600 characters and a bunch of different locations and action set pieces and stuff. But I don't know, sometimes it's nice to just focus on people and their interactions. That's your story.
That's fine. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like that. I just
I understand. Yeah,
a little more of that. And as for not including that other woman, I'm just kind of neutral on it. I'm just like, well, you had this character, it seemed kind of important, and then it's just you never see him or anything.
I remember watching the movie. I was thinking either she's gonna die or the kid's gonna die or both, and then it was obviously her
or something else. How'd you feel about the scene when he had the fight with his son or something? Basically, I mean, if you call it a fight, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of wanted the what is it? I forgot the name of the card game. Cards Against Humanity. I wanted that overpowering your father card to get drawn there for some reason.
Well, yeah, I mean, because obviously Cory's the more likable person.
Yeah, I mean, I get why it happened that way. I'm not complaining. It's like, oh, he should have beat his ass or anything. No, it's just like I kind of wanted that, and he had to just run away.
I think it was a little bit of both of jealousy for his son because he was doing essentially better than him, and also worried about his son of what happened to him, where don't want to end up like me essentially. And obviously the alcohol is doing the most talk out of that. But
yeah, they drink a whole pint of gin in like 12 minutes or something. I'm like, slow down.
Yeah. We've done that before. It's no big deal.
Yeah, God, they were putting that shit away, and you gotta imagine too the time and like what they can afford. That is not smooth. Like that's not too far from rubbing alcohol, right? Like that shit's gotta burn. They just drink it, man.
Why do you always pour a little bit out when he opened a new bottle?
I wondered that too, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard something about like there would be impurities, and there was this thing where you hit the bottle and you pour out the top because stuff settles at the top. But I don't think that's what it. I just remember someone telling me that once in reference to something.
It's like when people used to hit the bottom of their cigarette pack. We got to pack the tobacco in real quick.
They're packing the tobacco for it to burn slower.
I thought he was just christening the backyard.
I thought it was like something like that, some kind of weird. It's like, there it is, and then they drink it like some kind of weird ritual like that or something.
Mm-hmm. And is that abandoned building? Because you kept on looking at that broken window. Is that essentially like death, essentially looking at him?
I wondered that too.
I don't know. I'm not sure what it represented. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because there's that scene where after the fight, he's like trying to swing a baseball bat, and it's like you think he's having a fucking heart attack or something.
Yeah, I thought he was going to die right there on the spot. And then they're like, okay, so 6 years have passed. And I was like, what?
Yeah. And then, like, there's like this glare coming off that window in that building.
It's like the eye of Sauron.
Yeah, it's like coming down at him or something. Like, is he gonna fucking die? No, it's like, okay, he died later.
Dude, his ridiculous. His stories about fighting death, wrestling with death, fucking hilarious.
Pretty funny stuff.
Yeah.
This guy's a conflicting character because he can spin a line of bullshit, and then it's like, oh, this should just be the movie. It's him just fucking bullshit the entire time.
It's great. Like there's a lyrical quality to all of his bullshitting. It just goes and goes and goes. Like you can lose track of what he's talking about in the middle of him talking about it.
And then he does some stuff that you're like, I don't like this guy anymore.
Yeah, it's like it even gives you like it gives you enough to know like, okay, he's had a pretty fucked up past, right? Mm-hmm. But in some ways, like he's overcome some of those things and is still made out to like be decent. But then there's all and again, like you can feel bad for him in some ways, but yeah, ultimately, like he's still a little self-indulgent. Like he's still out there making some pretty rough mistakes.
I don't know if this is the point of the story or not, because I wanted to get to that here in a bit. But how much, like, how if someone's like a truly shitty person, but they had like, a rough upbringing or bad circumstances or like, devastating poverty, terrible parents, something.
How much of a pass do they get?
how much of a pass do they get for being an asshole? Like, well, he always had a rough time, so that's why he's a complete asshole.
There's a limit to it. Everybody's got a limit.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the 50s, and they're like, they're African American, so they have a rough time anyway. And I think maybe that's part of, like, this story is kind of like coming to terms with, like, everything was shitty and everyone had a bad upbringing and kind of getting past it. Because, like, his father sucked, so he sucks as a father mostly.
Yeah.
And it seems like Cory's going to be okay. Maybe Lyons is going to be okay. We're not sure.
Yeah, but they all kind of take different approaches to how they get to what they do in their life.
Yeah, like Lyons is in prison at the end of the movie, so
yeah, that's the one thing that really fucking caught me off guard, because always when his dad was around, he always came during a paycheck. Dad, can I borrow $10 and all that stuff, and he came back and he paid it, and then you find out he was like stealing from people, and I'm just like, I get it. Probably during that time it was fucking hard for black people during that time because of the discrimination, but the way it got written, like he was a good kid that just wanted to be a musician, essentially, and then he like throws that in there.
Is it his circumstances? Like, is he can't even get by without theft?
I guess. I don't know.
But I mean, it all comes back to like why his dad's mad at him anyway. But funny enough, like his dad trying to be harsh on him also kind of pushes him to end up doing the same things his dad did to try to survive at first.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, it's the whole, like, it's almost like he repeated the cycle, and where Cory was able to break from that cycle.
Yeah, it's like that leads into some of my conflicting thoughts about his character. Like he was talking about, like when he's talking with both his sons about, like, oh, you need to get a job. He's like, what? Doing this work's not good enough, And he's got a point. He's like, I agree with you, man. Just get a job. It doesn't matter how shitty. Like, at least you're earning money,
Yeah.
But then, like, he'll turn around and be an asshole to Cory, who's just like wanting to, play football or do something else.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's so much like there though too, right? Because he's right in what he's saying to Lyons, but he's also a hypocrite because, again, he left him. But again, he left him because you can find out later because he's in prison. It's like him opening up kind of shows, okay, it's really fucked up stuff that he went through. It's not like he chose to just leave his son. He did choose to do what he did, and it led to that. But at the same time, it's not like he's like actively there and had the choice to be there. He got arrested, right? So there's that, where I think with Cory, it's more of seeing a reflection of what he went through, and he's still resentful of how he was treated. And again, he's very stuck in his way of, well, this is the way it is. There's no way you can make it because it didn't work for me either. So he's just not going to give him the chance to fail the same way versus letting him have the chance. Man, I mean, it's pretty unfair, but this is what it is. Back to the question Andy posed. I mean, to me, again, your upbringing, I think this is how it works. Everyone gets dealt a different hand of cards. Your upbringing has, in my opinion, may rationalize the extent of your character or what you decide to do with your life, but that is never an excuse. We all have a choice. We all have the ability to make decisions, and actually, a lot of times those decisions can define who we end up being. And that's not me getting too deep or personal on my own stuff. I mean, not to share too much, but I had a pretty rough upbringing. I mean, I'm not comparing it to being black in the 50s in Pittsburgh by any means, anything like that, but like just comparatively, I dealt with some pretty rough stuff in my childhood, and I found a different way to not let it affect me. I've definitely made
a huge asshole. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm far from good, but I try to still make the right decisions or do the right things. And
you clearly have made the best. I mean, you're a nice person, and you're doing very well. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, and just for as many people where I'm from, like there are plenty of people that either made a mistake and are still paying for that mistake, but there are plenty of people that are also just again, unfortunately, fairly selfish or have made some pretty like life altering decisions that have kind of left them stuck where they're at. I mean,
I've got some of them are in the ground or something, but you know.
Oh, I have a lot of very close people I grew up with. They're in prison or dead, and that just sucks. But it is what it is. I mean, drugs are bad. It's just what it comes down to. But I got you nerds, so it's all good.
And to piggyback off of like Zach, like there were things Troy was saying. I was like, I've heard my dad say that before, you know.
Yeah.
And like, and then all of a sudden he would just like turn it around and be like, you will like your mother and all that stuff. And he would be a total douchebag, especially the son. Like all of them tried to say it. Now I understand this is the 50s and there was still civil rights movements and, you know, all that stuff happening. But you had the wife go like, times are changing. You have Jackie Robinson, and right away he's like, "Yeah, Jackie Robinson sucks," and I fucking chuckled.
Yeah, I laughed at that too.
Jackie Robinson couldn't make half the Negro team. That's what he said.
Yeah.
it was pretty funny.
And it just shows like Chaz, what you said. You know, some people just don't change; they're gonna be bitter till the very end. And essentially, that's what Troy did. But what I really like, and it always with plays, usually they end like on a happy note. Essentially, they all kind of learned something from Troy at the end. Like they all got to like,
yeah, definitely, not kind of.
Yeah.
I'd say definitely.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what, if you believe in religion, that's what got him through the gates, like his brother's been talking about. Because
Maybe.
I think Troy was being fucking stubborn. Even during that time, I think when he was blowing the horn, it was like nothing was happening. Like Troy was probably being like, "Bitch, no, I got to stay here and be in this house."
He taught everyone in his life something, but I don't know if it was the thing he was trying to teach them every time.
Yeah.
That you were saying, I've heard some of the things he said. I've heard my own father say and stuff like that. I think that's why this is such an interesting story. It's such an interesting movie. Is like they could have, or whoever wrote the play could have just made Troy an outright jerk. He could have been an awful father through and through. Instead, he's like mostly an awful father, but he's trying his best. He makes some good points, but he just can't. He's got problems.
Yeah.
Just like any real person, and his problems overcome his virtues more often than not. But that's what's interesting is you can't like you could have someone who's like a super awesome father or someone who is a super terrible father, and either one would ruin this movie. It would not be interesting, and nothing would happen.
Yeah, because nobody really lives in those types of perfections, but in those extremes, right? Like we're human. Like we're all gonna have flaws, and we're also gonna have certain things that we stand by that are would be deemed good or positive qualities. I mean, Troy's no different. So I definitely agree. Like he makes decisions that piss you off. Actually, I think because at the beginning you find so much about what he's struggled and gone through, and there are things to latch onto that make him seem like a good person. It makes you that much more upset that he makes such a big mistake by having a kid with another woman in an affair, because it's like, come on, man, what are you doing? Like, because you're rooting for him until he fucks up, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a good thing, right? Like you would do you care if a person that you think is a total like dickbag, do you care that they went on and did something else to hurt the other people? No, because that's the point of it. You don't have an attachment to that person, but in this movie, you get an attachment to someone who you're kind of rooting for. Maybe something's going to play out and work for them, but then they keep making these things and stumbling in front of you. I don't know. It makes it entertaining to watch for sure. It's compelling.
Yeah, even like Bono, his friend that he spent time in jail with, and then obviously worked with in the garbage truck and all that stuff. Like after he found out he was cheating on his wife, it was like, I don't want to deal with this guy. This guy is too much trouble, and he literally like left him for a month, because that's what the bar scene was. He's like, you haven't talked to me in like months.
Yeah,
What's changed? And like, That's also another real moment where people were just like very stubborn, very combative, very because he was fighting with the job to get like the driver, and he's like, dude, I'm just having a living wage and going home to my wife. That's all I care about. And he was like fighting the system essentially. Not saying that it was right or wrong, but he's kind of like, this guy is gonna get me fired or killed or something like that.
Does at the end of the movie, it's implied people kind of come to terms with it, and his brother blows the horn, and there's a light. Is that what he deserves? Is to be celebrated, to go to heaven?
I think this is me being a little religious. I think Jesus does forgive people. He forgives a lot of sinners, but he's probably going to have to work at apologizing for what he's done, essentially.
Do you think he would? Does he seem like the kind of guy who's going to do that? Atone and apologize?
Maybe, because that's the weird thing. We didn't see like it abruptly being like, well, he's dead. And I'm like, okay, but we never saw any...
The next 6 years.
Like the character changed, because it looks like he was being good to the daughter, because he pretty much said the same song that Cory knows.
The dog, Old Blue.
Yeah. And I think that's what broke Cory, where he's like, somewhere in that deep in that asshole of a dude, there is a nice guy. He has that bitterness. Well,
like we were saying, everyone has good qualities and bad qualities. So by that, but if we're judging them that way, and you're saying if you have good qualities, then you can probably get into heaven, then who's the sinner?
Yeah, I mean, he did commit two of the cardinal sins, right? He broke 2 of the 10 commandments by, if we're being technical, at least 2. Yeah, 3.
Well, I think the dude on the cross next to Jesus they were both criminals essentially, and I think they stole, which was one of the 10 commandments,
right?
And he forgave him essentially. So I don't know. I mean,
I'm just splitting hairs. I mean, you don't want my opinion on it. It's gonna be less fun and promising. But I'm a godless heathen, so that's a whole different thing.
In the context of the story.
In the context of the story, yeah.
In this story, in the story of Fences, there is a heaven.
Yeah, because again, I think so.
You think so, Zach? What do you think?
Maybe. I'm not sure how exactly I saw that scene. I was like, so I don't know. I kind of looked at it like that was like they came to terms with their strained relationship with him. Yeah. All of them. So.
That's kind of what I take it is, because who really cares if he goes to heaven or not? Because Troy's not there to tell you whether he's there or not. So it's really for the sake of his family did he go, and I think that's where they get some type of symbolism and they can latch onto that, and that helps them move on in their grieving process.
That's what I was driving at, is the heavenly revelation at the end of the movie. That's his family coming to terms with. I think this is what the movie's about. Is look, unfortunately, Troy was a shitty person. Like, even though he tried, sometimes he would be a good person, but overall, he was a bad person who had been a thief and, swore and drank and, was an adulterer and all this other stuff. And whether or not he gets into heaven doesn't matter. What matters is the lives that he touched, how they reconcile him being a bad person. And in that way, I kind of don't like this movie. This movie is great. I loved watching it, and I think the acting was really good, but I don't, it seems to me the point it's trying to make is excusing people in your life that have a negative influence on you in that way. Like, oh, well, he always meant well. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, he still struck his son. He still, had a child out of wedlock. He still did all this stuff. He cheated on his wife. He did all this other stuff. I don't like that. It seems like it's this collective thing. Like, yeah, sometimes our parents were bad, but I guess that's okay. is it okay? Like, it's okay to be upset sometimes. Like, you can, that's the problem. Like, I've always been extremely gifted in that I had two very loving parents. So it's really hard for me to think about and discuss this. So maybe I'm the wrong person to be thinking about this. But it's okay if you love your parents and you can still say that they sucked, I think.
Yeah.
And I think this movie's having a hard time coming to terms with that. This movie can't say Troy sucked. Oh, but he was actually good at heart, or he meant the best. He thought he was doing the right thing. No, he sucked. He was holding his son back, and he was like yelling at people and doing all the other things we've already discussed.
He did one of the things I hate most people do, which is like anytime somebody asks something from him or whatever, or anything, any kind of conversation would lead into, what do I do for you all the time? And then they're like, I don't know what you call that, where it's like you do something that's expected of you, but you hold it over people all the time.
All the time. Like when Lyons is trying to pay him back, and he's like, you just keep it. And Lyons rightfully says, no, if I don't pay you back, I'll never hear the end of this. This is what it'll be every time from now on. I'm here to pay you back, which is what you complained about a week ago.
Yeah, I used to get really pissed through those scenes specifically because I had a parent like that, and I was like, great. It's like driving that home, and I was like, oh, this is a great little thing. I don't want to open back up. But Andy, to your point, like, I think it's not that I dislike how the movie ended, and maybe it's because it does actually end on the positive thing, like making it seem like that. But I don't think it necessarily just excuses it. I think that Cory's demeanor as he comes in those last scenes, he has every right to feel the way he does, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he has every right to be like, no, I don't care that he's here. I'm not going to his funeral, because the last things he can latch on are all of these other things. But I don't think that how he feels about his dad is also as simple as, oh, he was a terrible person and I hated him. And I think a lot of his is also still driven by the fact that he had so much pressure and expectation to do what was there because he loves his parent. It's just a classic thing of a child trying to live in the shadow of their parent or do what can make them happy, and he just felt like it was an impossible thing. And I think it was more that pressure. I mean, ultimately it does lead to, I mean, there's definitely conflict there, right? So it's not perfect. So he has every right to feel the way he does, but I think what happens at the end is he realizes that, okay, even though this person's there, there's still, again, it's just him finding a way to reconcile with what's left, what's there with his family, because he's also been estranged from his family for all those years too, and he still has something else to look forward to. So I think it is just as much about how do they move on, and some people find weird ways to grieve in that way. I mean, how many people are going to have someone in their life that has, like, clearly fucked up incredibly for years and years, but at their funeral they're not going to sit there and go, oh yeah, they're just probably sitting there, they're just shooting the shit with Satan. Like, nobody's going to talk about how they're burning in hell. You don't do that.
Not if you know.
So it's to me, it's very realistic. Like, that's what I kind of like. It's very humanizing, because no one would, like, the way they acted or they're showing is exactly how anyone else would grieve in that same situation. Even if all of them are like, okay, yeah, he was a piece of shit to me, but we still loved him for, whatever reason they come to.
Yeah, I think also, and it's not what the movie's about, so it doesn't really, like, this revelation kind of muddies up what they're trying to wrap up. But I think Cory kind of comes to the revelation too that a funeral isn't necessarily for the deceased; it's for the survivors. Like, he's going for his mother, or he's going for Raynell or Lyons or whoever else.
Right.
So there's that too.
Yeah. Well, and again, by his dad dying, there's like a weight kind of lifted in some ways. Like, he now can actually be with his family.
That's true.
Like, there are some positives that come out of that, and I'm sure, like, for him in a way there might be a weight that's lifted there because he gets to reconnect with his mother, and then also now he gets to know his sister that he's never been with, and he's already bonding in some way through that. So I do think that's helpful. Again, it's all the more, like, bittersweet but interesting that Lyons can't be there because Lyons fell in the same cycle that Troy did.
Yeah.
And where it looks like Cory was able to break it. So, and him being there now, he'll be able to make sure that Raynell stays, away from falling into similar cycles.
And I think there's like a lot of like Andy, what you were bringing up about like forgiving bad parents and stuff. I mean, there are actual monster parents out there that don't deserve, in my opinion, to
sure. Yeah, Troy isn't the worst of the worst, or anything.
Yeah, like because I'm thinking about like the things like, yes, he's an asshole, but I know a lot of fucking assholes in the world that are parents. Him cheating on his wife, especially, that is one of the biggest things. And then obviously him beating up his son, but he does stop him. He does stop himself.
Yeah, honestly, there were several times throughout the movie I thought he was going to strike his son, and he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until like there's the big blow up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, some of this may be cultural for the time, but to him, this is effectively a broken person that hasn't figured out how to love themselves, that is then trying to raise a family and do right by them in every way they know how, but they're limited to what they can work with because, again, they're not repairing themselves. They're just allowing themselves to sit in their own issues. And to him, being a parent is just about, I've got to keep food and shelter, and if I work really hard and do that, then that's all I have to do. And there's so much more to parenting than that. But as someone else who also grew up with a similar thing, like, I know my mom loved me and she did her best. She worked, but at the end of the day, like, my mom wasn't around at all. Being raised mostly by a single parent for most of my childhood. She was gone working all the time because in her mind, as long as she was providing and keeping, food on the table and a shelter for us, then for me and my sister, then that's all that mattered.
Yeah, if you're gonna focus on one thing, that's a decent one, I guess.
It is. It's not wrong. Like, she loved me, but it's and that is one thing I don't like about this movie is they. So I guess the way to take it, because it's a weird thing, because they bring up the whole thing of him not liking. I don't have to like you. You're my responsibility. Does Troy love his family? Does Troy actually love his family, or does he feel like he's just responsible for them?
I don't know.
And I really dislike that we don't get some type of clarity. I know that it's probably intentional. It needs to be vague, but you'd think very differently about him if you knew one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point. But that to me just leaves this lingering, like, I don't know. It feels a little unsatisfying.
So I think there's two people that he actually like totally respects, and that was Bono and his brother. Because Bono essentially tells him, "What the fuck are you doing? Messing around. You have a nice wife and kid and stuff. What the fuck are you doing?" And essentially that's what like wakes him up and goes to his wife and tells, because the way he approaches it and the way he like defends his point of view of seeing that woman is wrong, but essentially he does feel bad that like he's kind of hurting her because of what Bono says, and then obviously he respects his brother because that's his flesh and blood and stuff, and eventually he does listen to his wife, where he's like, you have to put him into a home where he's going to be locked up all the time and they're just going to leave him in there. And, obviously when you're dealing with something mental, they do lock you up, but at least he's going to be safe essentially. And he does listen to his wife that way. So there is people that he does respect, but then the way he treats his family is very muddy.
Yeah, but respect and love are two different things, right? And I would agree. Like, I think I definitely agree with the first thing you said. Bono, like, by far, like that is one person he trusts, like, that he trusts his opinion. It's the one thing in the movie I think that really stands out is it's the first time you see such a stubborn, like, hard-headed person just completely taken aback by someone else and just, oh, you right. Like, that's exactly what happens. Like, Bono calls him out and calls him on his shit immediately, and he owns up to it. And, like, that's the only time in the movie that happens. Like, he might compromise with things that his wife brings up, but he never really just yields to anything that she really brings up. He doesn't really have, and the things he does, he doesn't have a choice. But as far as someone calling him out on his shit and him owning up and sticking to it, Bono's the only thing that happens. His brother is like a mixture of things, right? Like, I mean, is it that the situation he was in, is it guilt because of the money that he got? Like he clearly has some guilt and resentment over the fact that the only reason they even have a house is because his brother got injured in the war, right? So how much of it is really that versus actually loving him? Again, it's responsibility. Does he feel responsible because of that?
Sure, yeah.
And again, it's just vague enough. It doesn't mean that he does or doesn't, but you never get that. And if I just at least had it to know, like, the only person it sounds like he actually loves is the person you don't meet in the movie. It's that damn woman, because he talks about how he feels like he can actually laugh. He can actually be himself. And like, that's kind of sad that that's the only time you get anything from him to really be honest about his own feelings. And that's when he's happy. And it has nothing to do with the rest of his family. Because so again, it goes back to, are they just a responsibility? And
and
I mean, oh, go ahead.
And what I noticed about the Bono scene where he talks about, what the fuck you're doing with that girl, is because remember, always after work they always have that gin and stuff, and he's like, "Where you going?" I almost said the full fucking line. Jesus Christ, where you going? Let's have a drink. And he's like, "No, I got to get back home to my wife." He's like, I think he said, I'm paraphrasing, "I'll come back when you fix that fence of yours and stuff." And then he fired back, I could say the same to you about the refrigerator and his wife and stuff. And on the facial expression, it kind of looked like this motherfucker didn't listen to a word I said. So I think in his mind, he didn't listen. And then Denzel Troy's like, all right, I got to do this, essentially.
Yeah.
So
I think it's their way of communicating with each other, right?
Yeah. But yeah, well, he didn't see him for a month, so I guess he was kind of maybe offended by that, where he was like firing back a little bit.
Yeah.
Man, but Viola Davis, by the way, great acting. The wife.
Yeah, she has like second billing after Denzel, and I was like, I've heard this name. What have I seen her in? And I looked it up, like nothing. She's in a bunch of really good movies that I've never seen, and apparently she does very well in them, but I haven't seen them, so I don't know what that says about me.
She does the snots out of the nose crying very well. I was like, fuck. I was like, this is fucking serious. Holy
That's
shit.
Real shit.
Yeah. I think we talked about it, unless you guys have anything else to say about this movie.
No, I already kind of said how I felt about it in general. Like the two metrics I always like to bring up when we're wrapping up are, will you ever watch this movie again? Do you recommend this movie to anyone? I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again, and I'm not trying to condemn it. It's just, I've seen it, and like I said, there was some stuff about it I did not like. Do I recommend it to anyone? Sort of, mostly, I guess. Like, honestly, it's very well directed, very well shot, and very well acted. It's worth watching for those three things. But again, the message didn't sit right with me, and I'm really worried. It's just, it's my privilege of being white in the 2000s and having grown up with loving parents that maybe I don't connect with this movie right or something. I'm willing to admit maybe that's the case.
Chad, what about you?
Yeah. Actually, for those metrics, I kind of agree with Andy. I have no intention of watching the movie again. I mean, maybe down the road I get an itch and would watch it, but I think you can kind of consume the story for what it is. And again, it is a film that I didn't walk away feeling satisfied, but I think that was the point. It's vague enough that it's supposed to be that way, and it's okay. Some things aren't supposed to end with you getting that feeling. It's just that it didn't sit perfectly with me, but I agree. Like, the movie's execution is great. Like, I think for that reason, and plus I think the story is still an interesting thing. I can relate to some of the things that have happened in that story. I think it's a good story, and I would recommend it for people to watch. But do I think it's one of those things where you could just recommend it to everyone? Remember we talked about American Fiction being like super recommendable, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, this movie doesn't feel like it's as recommendable
No.
in that way, but just in general, I think it's a good movie. I would recommend it.
Zach?
I don't think I'd necessarily recommend it unless you're like a big Denzel fan. You want to see some Denzel acting where he's like deadlifting acting. Something like that. Of course, Viola Davis too, sure. But I think more people are apt to sit up if you say Denzel fucking knocked it out of the park in this movie. Really? Like, but
Knocked it out of the park.
lol. But I don't really have as much issue with like the ending of it or anything. I just kind of took it for what it was, and it's not really a movie that necessarily I would seek out, to watch again. So I think it's like a one and done for me. It's like I enjoyed it for what it was, but yeah.
I if it was on, I'd watch it again. As far as me in the wheelhouse of all Denzel Washington movies, it would probably be low. Because it's a very fucking serious film, and I don't want to be sad and angry because of all the gaslighting Troy was doing in that film. But I would recommend the movie to people just because I feel like this is all what's that word? Never mind. Where they kind of like ad lib and stuff.
Improv.
There you go. It feels like there was a lot of improv in this movie. I didn't research. Really? Yeah, it felt improv.
Like I said, it was based on a play, and I just kind of assumed it was like pretty snappy right there with the play.
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of it. Yeah, how it was already set up with the scene. Like it very much felt like it was structured that way. Especially,
I think that's just Denzel being a crackerjack actor, like that. You think that, like some of the stuff he's saying, you think is off the cuff, but I think it's mostly prepared. Maybe not. I don't know.
I'll research it, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I would recommend it if people wanted to see it. I would kind of explain them the story and not expect to go in there thinking that Denzel Washington's gonna like kill white people and save civil rights or something like that. But I would just feel like a little rant. I like stories that are very isolated, that are not fucking. I need to see the world building into the whole fucking film or a book or a comic book.
Yeah, not every story needs to be. Yeah. This person saving the world, right?
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like when I watch these type of films, I'm like, oh man, that was fucking cool because it's very grounded and very real compared to like I open up my closet and holy shit, there's a fucking lion from Narnia in there. Let me go see what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. And Andy really touched on something too, and I don't think it's that necessarily the reason he didn't connect with it, but for anyone who has been through anything even close to what's happened in the film or can relate to it, or maybe they have a parent who's told them because they know their parent had a hard upbringing, or like there are a lot of people that can relate to that, and the more you can relate to that story, the more you're going to feel strongly about it. Maybe for better or worse. Like that might be one of those things you watch and it reminds you too much of something that happened to you, and then you go the other way. But it's great when movies are relatable like that. They're not for everyone, but that's okay.
Yeah, a little side note, like all my writings, every time I try to like world build and make it like I'm gonna make my own Star Wars. It's gonna be great. You're just like, this is way too much. I'd rather just keep it grounded where it's like a zombie apocalypse and we're in this cabin and we're having a conversation, essentially. But that's just me. But Andy, what's the next movie we're gonna be discussing?
On the next episode of Big Trouble in Little Podcast, we're going to be watching Detroit from 2017, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, 2017. I know nothing about this movie, and I've never seen it, so I'm looking forward to seeing a new movie.
And
I think we're all in the same boat, right? I don't think any of us knew anything about it.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I saw.
This is a good month. We should strive to do this more often. See new stuff.
Yeah. Still don't have a ad thing yet because usually all our recordings are random, so we can't have like an ad and be like, be here at this time.
A period of development. Mind our dust, folks. We're figuring it out. But yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into host credits scene then instead. I actually will go first this week. Why not? Last week I cheated. This time I'll play by the rules. Beat Blood Omen. I'm gonna hold off most of what I want to say about that game because we're gonna do a whole thing. We're gonna stay tuned, everyone. Or maybe by the time you hear this, there'll be more about it. I don't know. I beat Vector Man 2. I think I said I started it last week. I beat it. It's good. That game is hard. Like I hate that last boss. I hate rough. It. The last boss in Vector Man 1 is rough, but like I understand it. Like it's easy to be like, oh, if I can duck under his arm, and then there's projectiles. It just in 2, I just had to figure out, go to the left side of the screen, jump over the projectile, shoot a couple times, hit the ground running, go under, and then do the same thing from the other side of the arena. And then you just do that for like 7 goddamn minutes or something. Like, come on.
It's insane how long it takes. It's just like that.
No, you gotta be a speedrunner. You gotta fucking do it quick.
Yeah. But I played a little bit of Pilot Wings 64, which was a launch title for the Nintendo 64. I've never played it before, but I've always kind of wanted to because I love the flying minigame in Wii Sports Resort. And someone had told me, hey, if you like that, maybe you like Pilot Wings. So I decided to play it. It's not the same. So that person can fuck right off. It is similar, though. It is kind of scratching that itch a little bit. But, I'm playing it on my Polymega, and I didn't realize the Nintendo 64 module for the Polymega sometimes has a problem, and that is when you first boot games, it will have audio skipping. And I was like, oh, God damn it, I must have copied the cartridge wrong. What the hell's going on? So I deleted the information off the hard drive, which is, I have all my games stored on the Polymega, and just played it straight from the cartridge, and it was still doing it. And I looked it up later. You just got to reboot the game, and it should work. So I just, I should have done a little research. But also, 64 games just, they look so shitty sometimes. It's that stupid pre-filter inside the console. I can't stand it.
Do you ever play the original Pilot Wings?
Briefly, yeah, a little bit for the SNES. Yeah. I have it on the Wii U. I got it for free.
It's a pretty cool game too.
Yeah, I like it pretty well. And Pilot Wings 64 has been pretty fun. I'm gonna go back to it. I think like it's gonna be my kind of like in between serious games, just like screw around kind of game. But it's fine. And then I started. I guess my new big project. I'm gonna try to beat Yakuza Kiwami 2 before the new one comes out, Yakuza Pirate, whatever, the one about Majima. So far that game's great. Like it's like a remake of 2, and I played Kiwami 1 a couple years ago, and it was also great, but it was like a little rough around the edges. You could tell they were just like, hey, we're gonna remake 1. It's gonna be pretty cool. This game so far is like the presentation is really good. Like the graphics look like incredibly good for that generation. They're like fighting in the rain and stuff, and there's like a bunch of cool drama, and so I don't know, I'm real into it. I of course I like that series anyway, so but there'll be more about that later, of course. Zach dropped. He's dead.
Yeah. Man down. He'll be back, I believe.
Well, one of the things I watched, I actually did want to discuss with him, but whatever. I watched a few movies. I watched Dark City. You guys ever seen Dark City?
Yeah, that's the one that they always be like, that's almost like the Matrix, essentially.
Yeah, it's sort of kind of like the Matrix, I guess. I've been told for years that I would really like that movie, so I decided to finally watch it. It's on the Criterion Channel of all places because they're doing like a sci-fi surveillance theme or whatever. It was fine. I didn't love it.
It's not great. It's so boring to me.
And like the setting kind of wears out its welcome really quick on me. It's just like damp and dark. I get it. And then it's damp and dark for like, an hour and 50 minutes. It's okay, I get it. Like at least in the Matrix, they would like flip-flop the two locations and stuff and do all kinds of cool other things and whatever. Whatever though. Dark City is fun. I watched a movie though called The Anderson Tapes. I'll bet you guys haven't even heard of that movie, have you?
No.
1971, I think. It's a heist movie starring Sean Connery, and he rules in it. And it's also, not only does it star Sean Connery, but it is introducing, meaning I think it was his first movie ever, Christopher Walken. So Christopher Walken is like the new kid. Like they both like get out of jail at the beginning of the movie, and Sean Connery is like fixing up this heist. He's gonna rob every single building in this apartment building. Like they're all like rich so-and-sos. They all have like nice things there. But the movie itself is about that heist, but it's also about like electronic surveillance, and constantly like throughout the movie you're seeing that he's on surveillance footage somewhere, or there's a camera in the elevator, or someone's recording his conversations at his girlfriend's apartment, and you think they're going to do something with it, and they barely do something with it.
No.
Like it seems like the message was, hey, it's 1971, there's cameras everywhere now, which for 1971 is very profound. That's true. I mean, things have never been the same. I'm on camera right now. Look at me. But it's okay. The acting is really good. The heist is exciting. The music's great. The music's done by Quincy Jones, but every once in a while they do this weird experimental electronic music, and it sucks out loud. It is distractingly bad. But when they're just doing like the regular like 70s heist movie funk music, it kicks ass. It's good stuff. So yeah, Anderson Tapes is fine. And I also David Lynch died, so I had to watch David Lynch stuff. I watched Fire Walk with Me, the Twin Peaks movie. That movie rules. I like it a lot. Obviously, I like it better because I've seen the series, but I think it's just like a well-made movie. It's cool. It's well shot, and like the atmosphere is great, and the music works perfectly for it. And I don't know. I just like that movie. It's a cool-ass movie.
Yeah. Rest in peace, David Lynch, by the way.
Yeah. Farewell. I still plan when I get time. Oops, I knocked some shit over on my desk. I'm going to watch season 3 of the series finally, but I had all these plans. I was going to like I needed to install a ceiling fan, and I needed to like do some cooking and some laundry. I had got a small kidney stone, so nothing happened. All I did was watch American Dad all day and fall in and out of sleep. So all my plans went to hell to watch Twin Peaks and do all my chores. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, those kidney stones, they get you.
Yeah, at least this one, I think this one was pretty small. I've had some big ones, and they sent me to the ER or whatever. But this one was just drink a bunch of water, pound some ibuprofen, hope for the best. It worked out.
Well,
that's it for me. What about you, Chaz?
Yeah, you guys want to guess what I did?
Cards.
Even though I said I wasn't gonna. Yeah, I did it again. I done did it again.
I sold all my cards, and now I'm playing in the Nationals in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Fuck that. Listen, that's a trap card I will not set down. So I'll just get the card stuff out of the way. So set championships started for Lorcana this weekend, and there was one, and I didn't think I was going to go to it because it was my only day off for a whole week, and somehow my wife's like, "Oh yeah, you should go to that. Go have fun." And I'm like, "All right." Weird alien lady that replaced my wife, but anyway, I went to an event and I actually got third place. But that sounds like it's pretty good, but I'm really pissed about it because I was number 1 seed going into the top cut, and which means I was undefeated. I literally hadn't lost a game. I was just dick stomping everyone. And I actually played with one of the people that I traveled with. 3 of the top 4 people were actually the people I traveled with. And I'm happy for my friend. It's not that I'm mad at him about it. It's not his fault. But my deck did what it did when I played in Los Angeles the week before, which was I drew into like unplayable bricky shit that I couldn't like sequence the right way, which again, all decks can do that, but it's just such a low chance it can happen. And for one game, it'd be fine, but it happened 2 games in a row, which is what cost me my match. So I ended up losing. Like the other person didn't win. I lost. So that just sucks because I just didn't get to play. And it's, I don't know. I was a little bitter about it. I'm still salty about it, but I'll get over it. But yeah, still finished third place. It felt pretty good. I feel like if maybe I get a little over the hump on the whole bad luck thing, then maybe it'll work out the next event I play in. But anyway, some Pokemon stuff happened. I didn't really play more so, a new set came out and everyone's going absolutely batshit bananas over it. It's this new Prismatic Evolution set. I managed to secure some packs, and even though they're like outrageous in price, I opened them, and I actually opened a couple of hits, which is kind of cool. I got a Master Ball Eevee, which for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's a pretty expensive card, but I haven't hit any of like the so like. Andy, you know this, so I'd talk about it. You know, last time they did evolutions, or the evolutions, there's the Moonbreon, right? That's the card that's worth like over $1,000 now.
Yeah.
So on release of this new set, the Umbreon EX that also has like the moon in the background is worth almost $2,000. On release, like there are multiple cards that are like over $500 in this set.
Cards always cost a little extra right off the bat like that, but I feel like the community like decided this is going to be the card that's worth $1 gajillion. Like before we even knew rarity rates or anything, people just saw Umbreon and it's a rare card and they're like, oh, that's it, that's a new Moonbreon, I gotta get that one. So
no, I feel like you're right, and the scalping stuff has been ridiculous. I'm actually at the point where I'd already had stuff pre-ordered, so like that's what I opened is basically what I pre-ordered, and now it's like I don't know if I actually want to even pursue collecting anymore. This is like I pre-ordered months before this, but this is outrageous. Like you can't find stuff.
Several posts on Reddit every day that's like, I'm done with this hobby. I can't do this.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a break. I'm not done. I'm just gonna set things aside and move on. And when they reprint a bunch and hurt the scalpers, I'll buy back in.
Social media, they're gonna reprint the whole set again. What's that?
Oh, sure.
Social media and YouTube has killed those hobbies, in my opinion, because you have people like, remember when Logan Paul fucking had the Charizard and stuff? Not saying totally it's their fault, but it's a main thing that essentially these scalpers just fucking go crazy for, because I don't remember in the 90s or the early 2000s, even the 2010s, where I was just like, this is out of control. Like,
it was a little rough in like 1999, 2000 for Pokemon cards, but it was never like, oh, terrifyingly scare you out of the hobby bad. I guess during COVID it got pretty bad. I wasn't necessarily a collector at the time, but I've learned after the fact that during COVID it got pretty bad. Like store shelves would be empty because everyone was bored and they were stuck at home, so they got into collecting cards again. And it like has been building, and now like 151 was like the dress rehearsal for what Prismatic Evolutions is now. Like it's weird. I went I decided I'm gonna step away. I don't really care about there's only one card, there's two cards in Prismatic Evolutions that I want, and I already ordered one, and the other one's like $5, and I'm just it's the Larry card, just because I think he's the best gym leader that's ever been. So I'm just gonna buy those two cards, and if I see the cards on the shelf, maybe I'll pick some up sometime, which is not gonna happen in the near future. But regardless, I was at a Walmart. I thought I'll go look at the Pokemon cards, and not only was there no Prismatic Evolutions, but people had cleaned everything else out too, like stuff that had been sitting there for months, like just old stuff, just Obsidian Flames and Scarlet and Violet, and who cares?
Yeah.
I'm going to Digimon. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, I had a particularly bad situation happen at a store that I stopped at, but we'll talk about that off air. No need for me to throw all that shade out.
I understand. We got to keep that under wraps.
Yeah, I killed a man.
You said that's my leafy out, you son of a bitch.
Oh, goodness.
You guys seen the videos of people fighting over the 151 cards at Costco?
Oh, God, it's so funny. Yeah.
Throwing elbows and shit.
Like an ass to elbows, just going nuts over. And what's funny is that set is like as far as like really expensive stuff, it's relatively worthless.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised by. Like the most expensive card in that set is that Charizard, which has the bad art that I don't even like. And even it's like sub $200, isn't it?
Yeah, that set's not even worth that much. The packs are not worth that much. People are stupid. I don't know what to tell you.
I think people hear 151 and are like, oh, that was back in my day. I need to get that or something.
Yeah, I mean, 151 is a popular set, but because of that, they printed a fuckload of it.
Yeah, so the thing that's worth a lot of money, which is funny because I have like 10 of them. Do you remember when they made the 151 premium collections, and you get the little Mew EX little alt art thing that came with it. They kind of look cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth a whole lot then. It's worth like $300 now.
Why?
I guess because they didn't reprint those when they reprinted all this 151.
Oh, I guess
people
they
went
didn't.
nuts about it.
No,
Yeah, because
well,
it was
I won.
exclusively in that. Yeah, I have like 10 of them. I'm like, no, I should probably move some of those. So eventually gonna get to that. Yeah, and I don't have 10 because I opened 10 UPCs. I don't even know how I managed to get those.
That's what I assumed. I just assumed that you had spent $3,000 on UPCs or something.
Can I buy one case of UPCs? No, I think I opened 3 because I still have like the boxes. But yeah, I got them from trades and random stuff, and they were like when I traded for them, they were worth like $10, $20. You know, I was trading for them because I was helping someone else get the stuff they needed, and I was like, I don't care, I'll take that. That's fine. I'll put that in the deck, and then sure enough, I went and counted earlier. I think, like, I know I said 10. I'm exaggerating a little, but I think I legitimately counted like 7 or 8, and I don't need those. And that's not counting the one that's already in my binder. So those are extras. Like I can just still sell. So pretty happy with that.
I just have the binder one.
Tell me if I'm wrong. Do you have like a safe for all these cards?
So I had a safe at one point.
Tell all our viewers.
I don't. I no longer have them in a safe at the moment. I need to buy a new safe. Right now, I have them up here, and I like have everything set to like keep the humidity and stuff a certain way. But honestly, for my vintage stuff, I really should get a safe and put it in and have something fireproof. I've also been meaning to update my insurance policy on it all because stuff's more expensive now, and they're worth more. So I need to adjust and update that because I'm not trying to have this house catch fire and something that's worth almost the same price as the house also burn up in the house.
I was about to say, I just heard the story of a guy who had a complete every set up through whatever Dragon Legacy, whatever that one's called.
Oh, Dragon's Exalted.
Yeah, and he lost the whole thing in that California fire.
Ugh.
That sucks. Yeah.
And I guess it wasn't insured as it should have been.
Yeah, you typically need to have those things covered, but yeah.
You don't think about it. You don't think about, I've got a bunch of like stupid old bullshit. No, that's for real. Like if you have like cards or a retro game collection or even like collectible records or something, like catalog it. And if it's worth something, it's take out.
You'd think in the last few years with all the fires that have been going on over there, people that live over there would probably think about that more.
Well, they've also been getting screwed out of insurance policies, but that's out of the purview of Big Trouble in Little Podcast, I guess.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. So Saturday, I get home after my third place nonsense, and or was it Saturday? That was different. No, yeah. So it was Saturday. I'm like having a brain melt. Get home and, I've got a salty taste in my mouth, and I come home and think, well, at least I get to watch the Lions kick ass in the playoffs. No,
oh, God, no.
Yeah. So just add the extra salt to the wound. Yeah, the Lions I don't know what happened.
It's the refs. An egg. Dude, that call sucked a dick.
Yes, they had some rough play calls, but like, Jared Goff didn't play the best game. And to be fair, I'm not using excuses. Like, the fact that we had the record, like, I shouldn't say we, I'm part of the team. Like, well, the Lions had a crazy good record given that their defense was effectively Saul's second string. Like, they had 15 injured reserve players going into that game. Like, it's an obscene amount. I think, like, the next highest was 4 for any other team. So, like, they just had an absurd number of injuries. And, hell, I think one of the guys that got injured, he literally got injured in the game that I was conscripted to be a Lions fan when they, like, just absolutely dog shit the Cowboys. The guy broke his leg, and he still finished the team leader for sacks. And that happened, like, week 6. Like, that guy was on pace to, like, he still finished, like, I think, like, 6th in the NFL in sacks, and he played like 5 games. Like, that guy is a monster. When they get him back, it's Hutchinson, his name. Yeah, they're gonna be crazy. But I'm still looking forward to next season, and I'm happy to be rooting for a team that's trying rather than a team that's just like, look at us, we have a star, we were good 30 years ago, that type of shit. So But I watched some anime because to be catching up on nonsense there, but nothing to like write home about. I also watched a couple of like Dark Side of the Ring episodes. It was more just playing in like the background while I did stuff, but it's always interesting. I finished Super Mario 64, and when I say finish, I mean I got all 120 stars, and I went and took the cannon up to the roof, and I said hi to Yoshi, and I said, "Go fuck you and your 100 lives." But
Yoshi's like, "You beat the game, you're completely done. Here's something that would have been very useful."
yeah,
I never understood that.
So what's really funny is when you play with the Switch, so the way that game is, if you boot it up, like traditionally you're playing it, like on an N64, each time you boot up, you go back to having 3 lives, which sucks ass. But in the Switch, you can just you just put your thing in sleep mode. So I finished the game with like 87 lives left when I got to 120. So I go to him, he doesn't give you 100, he fills you up to 100. So I went to him and he's like, "Here's 10 lives." I'm like, "You fuckhead, I was waiting for this number to get higher."
The real surprise isn't the lives; it's seeing Yoshi in 3D.
It's
on Nintendo 64 console.
But I didn't get to ride him. Whatever.
But El's real though; he's in there. We're gonna get him.
Yeah.
They swerved everybody with the next game. You didn't get to ride him again.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it. I thought about starting Sunshine, but instead I bought the new shiny thing, and I bought Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. That game's a fucking riot. I've had so much fun. I played the bejesus out of it in the last 2 days, and I've already beaten it. And because work's been a little slow, kids don't like to come in whenever it's 10 degrees outside. So I say slow, but honestly, I've actually still seen like a decent number of patients each day. But in between all that, I still had some time to do that. So yeah, the game's a blast. I actually only have a couple more levels left. There's like secret levels after you get the hidden orbs or whatever, and I do that. I'm actually going to be able to notch it as 100%. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, I downloaded the remake of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door because even though I have the original and I could play it, why do that when I can take it with me to work or play it while I poop?
Yes.
That whole the eternal argument for why people use a Nintendo Switch or a Steam Deck. I have not started it yet. And then I did start Blood Omen last night. Game's pretty cool. Very much into the story so far. I don't know. I cannot get a frame of reference for how long that game is. I thought I'd ask off air a bit more about it so we don't spoil them too much.
It's not that long. Yeah, it's like 14-ish hours.
I think how long to beat said 14. I think I beat it a little over 14 hours, and I stopped. So.
Well, I'm kind of sucking ass at the game and not knowing where I'm going or anything too. So I feel like I'm kind of just aimless. But I'll play for a few hours. And
use your Dark Souls skills.
Use the guides.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I've just been kind of just doing it aimlessly. So I probably just need to look up where to go and what to do, and that'll probably make it easier. But so far, I like it. Aesthetic's cool. I really like whenever he's swinging his sword and I'm just killing innocent people, and he's going, "Ha ha, Vivictus!" He just yells his name.
He's very into it.
I love the laughing. That's my favorite.
Yeah, the laughter's great. I just like walking into a pub or a bar, and everyone there is just like, better go and try to bitch slap this vampire.
Yeah, that never made sense to me. Like they're always like, "I'll get him."
Some woman just goes,
"How dare you, demon!"
Oh my god!
It did take me a minute because I'm an idiot. I was trying to figure out. I was like, I know staggering them means I can probably drink their blood, but what do I hit? And then it finally, I was like, oh, this is so obvious. You just
the other button.
Yeah, it's that other button. You don't just keep attacking them. You just hit the other button and you drink their blood.
Drink it like a straw.
Ranged enemies are a pain in the ass, though, especially like the mages.
You get a lot of toys later on. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm there a little bit. I've got like the bolt and I've got the flay stuff and everything, but I imagine it just gets better and better. So,
yeah.
So the spells at the end of the game are fucking outrageous.
They're insane. Yeah.
Are they all like again, like you can just spam them as much as you want as long as you have the magic, or are they like the consumable ones where you can?
Look, I'm going to spoil it right now. My favorite spell in the game, I can't remember what it's called, but the description is basically you hit someone with a bolt of magic and it tears their soul from their living body and destroys it.
Oh yeah, you were telling us about that. It doesn't matter how strong they are; you literally just go soul rip.
It uses up a lot of MP, but basically it's the leave me alone button. No matter what it is, it hits them, and then you can see like the translucent soul leaves the body falls over dead, and then the soul disappears. It's fantastic.
There's one better than that. There is one spell you get that's better than that.
There's some other cool stuff. That one was my personal favorite.
I like that one a lot too, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed even just throwing lightning bolts and just watching someone explode in agonizing pain.
I think they called that one Spirit Death. The one Andy's talking about.
That sounds right. I think so.
Yeah. I mean, what does one do when their stole dies? But yeah.
Ask Razio in the next game.
Yeah, I did actually go on a tear with the purchasing though, and so Blood Omen 1 and 2 are both free for me on PlayStation because I'm a shill. But Soul Reaver remastered had come out and it was on sale, so I went ahead and got it too. Now. Yeah, so I've got it too. So I've got them all lined up. I'm just gonna play them all.
Blood Omen 2 comes after everything else, doesn't it?
Comes after Soul Reaver 2 and the chronology of releases and kind of as a result of what happens.
Yeah, I think it's Blood Omen, Soul Reaver 1 and 2, and then Blood Omen 2. Because Blood Omen 2 is also a PlayStation 2 game?
It was on PS2, GameCube, and Xbox.
Yeah. Cool. Well, looking forward to it. The game's been fun so far. I'll leave it at that. I've started it. Hopefully we'll see how things go.
Good.
Zach, go.
No. Okay. I watched. No, I didn't watch Joker Blue Velvet.
Joker Blue Velvet.
That might have been a better movie. No, obviously.
Heineken, fuck that shit. Smilex.
Obviously, yes. David Lynch has passed away. I figured I might talk about it a little more than others, but I was like, I gotta rewatch some of his movies, and I watched Blue Velvet, and I watched Lost Highway.
Yeah,
because I saw it one time before, and that was in a group, and I don't think it really quite absorbed the right way when I did that.
It's a hard movie to understand sitting by yourself staring at it too, though.
It is. That's why I was like trying to talk with some other people afterwards, and I at first I thought no, I didn't quite understand it, but then after I did a little research, and I don't mean like I'm trying to find out what things mean and stuff. Just like I saw David Lynch's own comments about it and everything, and he pretty much said is like there's several different ways you can interpret this movie, and he's one of the guys that I'll take him at his word for whatever he says. I think that's right. So you could just take it anyway.
On the Criterion channel, there's a bunch of supplementaries for it, and one of them is David Lynch in like an 11-minute clip talking about like the genesis of Lost Highway. And it's him and the other guy who wrote it basically got together and had a bunch of ideas, and they told each other's ideas. And in David Lynch's own words, we hated each other's ideas. So then they like kind of figured out how they were going to form this movie, and in building it, it gets built out of all these other ideas that end up being the multiple ways that you can interpret the movie. It's interesting. It's worth watching if you still have that login.
Yeah, I might check it out. I like it a lot. What else did I watch? I watched Eraserhead again. It'd been a little while since I watched it last time.
I haven't seen that one in a while.
I liked it a little better the second time that I watched it. Not saying I didn't like it. It was probably my least favorite movie of his, but like it might still be. But I still like it quite a bit. It's a trip. But of course I watched like a bunch of tribute clips and like, stuff people were saying about him that he worked with, I'd see various clips from like movies online because everybody's just like, man, he was awesome. There's just like this big outpouring of everybody really appreciated him and stuff.
That's something that's interesting about him is I've seen rip David Lynch from like communities that I would have never Like they don't celebrate every director that passes, but I've seen it like on Reddit. Of course, it's in like all the boutique Blu-ray subreddits and Criterion and all that, all those, fart sniffers. But it's also like in the Death Stranding subreddit because Hideo Kojima tweeted and put stuff on Instagram about it. It's on the Red Letter Media subreddit because Jay was talking about it, and it's on like all these other places, and everyone was like, "Oh man, David Lynch died. That fucking sucks." And it kind of made me realize like a lot of people liked David Lynch from all different like walks of film life, which surprises me a little bit.
Film and video games, and I saw the same thing in Facebook. Like I'm in several different Facebook groups, and from like just random 90s or 80s nostalgia groups, or like a Silent Hill group. Of course, there's more obvious connections to that, but
I was in a Discord and they were talking. I brought up David Lynch. I said R.I.P. David Lynch, and then these uncultured swines were like, "Who's that?" And I was like,
"The reverse experience."
Sit down.
So I gave him a list, and there was this one guy who liked David Lynch, and he was like naming off all the greatest hits. I was like, "Watch A Straight Story." I just threw that in there, and I was like, hey, "Watch out! It was a pretty, wholesome film. Go watch it."
Movie.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. But I'll miss him a lot. But he also put a lot out there that's great. I still kind of wonder what that Netflix show could have been that just didn't work out. That was like the last thing he was working on, really.
You still got to watch all of Dumbland.
Yeah, I got to also watch the web series about the bunny rabbits. Like I forgot what that was called.
Yeah,
but I did something kind of interesting in tribute to him in my own way. His whole family invited everybody to join them at 12 p.m. Pacific time in 10 minutes of transcendental meditation, and I did it.
With your family?
With their family. Like they basically made an online statement. It's like, if you want to celebrate, it's like, do this with us at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And I was like, you know what? Because he talked so much about it and how it helped him like be really creative and stuff. I was like, because I like this guy so much, I'll do it.
Did you become creative?
No, but I kind of I actually did feel a lot better after I was done.
Nice.
It was kind of strange. It was like my senses felt more sharp. And I felt like I wasn't really anxious before, but I felt like a lot more freed up or something. I don't know how else to describe it.
People have been doing it for hundreds of years for a reason, I guess.
And then I was like, I might start doing this every day of my life. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, mindfulness is a thing, man. Meditation can help in a lot of ways. That's cool.
I felt a sense of like how he described it though while I was doing it, and I was like, this is kind of interesting. So it's not BS. It's real. I might have to. I bought a book of his that I was intending to read. I just didn't get around to it. It's called Catching the Big Fish, and it's kind of like how he came up with his creative process. And I think it touches on meditation and stuff because that's a big part of it. And I don't know. I just wanted to read it because I thought it was interesting. I might do it sooner now. I watched a bunch of wrestling too. On the flip side of that. I watched like ECW 1995 stuff because I felt like I had to I don't know, get a better grip on the year 1995 because they struck out. And I was like, I feel like I have to do this for posterity for myself or I won't be satisfied with it.
Yeah, because you always need to watch everything in chronological order, essentially.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh man, this is rough. I'm not watching like the TV or anything. I was watching like the other events we didn't do. And I was going to stick to they're not really pay-per-views back then. They're big events. They're super cards.
Yeah, I've said it on our podcast, Getting Some Color, by the way, shameless plug. But I was like, I fucking hate ECW now. Like, I can't stand their wrestlers. Like, and I know they all came to WWE at some certain point, but fuck Sandman, dude. I still hate him.
That's not gone away from me. There's still people I'm not watching every single thing. I'm still kind of keeping to some of principles we came up with when we were watching. It was like, I'm not watching fucking the Rotten brothers fight each other. I'll never do that because they're both awful. I won't ever watch a match they're involved in with anybody. They did Sandman versus Axl Rotten, and I was like, nope, I'm not watching that. It's just, I won't even watch Sandman and Cactus Jack fight each other because they had 2 boring matches in a row. I'm like, I'm not. Sandman's dragging Mick Foley down. I don't want to watch that.
I was going to say, what the heck?
It just tells you that Philadelphia people are trash people. I'm just going to be real.
You hate that city.
The city is kind of a shithole.
It is kind of a shithole. See, they like violent crap, like Jerry Lawler was saying. But no, like, I'm skipping stuff that I know I'm not going to like, and I'm still trying to, like, be fair, and there's still a lot of things that happen. They're just like, God damn it, I hate this production so much. Like, I saw Scorpio fight Taz for, like, a while in a regular match, and, like, a sea of trash, there was, like, a match that had psychology and shit, and I was like, whoa. That's pretty good for what it was. But I think I've learned the trick a little bit to, like, ECW. We might have been doing it wrong a little bit the whole time.
Drugs.
Also be from Philadelphia. But no. So
Huff Paint, then.
No. I mean, maybe.
I see what you did there.
But, like, sometimes, like, I'll watch something or whatever, and I'll be like, why do people like this? Because I don't like it. And I want to know why other people like it. And I was like, why do people like ECW? When does it actually get good? And, like, I found a Reddit post, and a lot of people were actually saying it never was good. It was like,
bleak.
Here was it, or like, it's not necessary. Don't watch ECW thinking you're going to watch good wrestling matches because it almost barely ever happened. And I'm starting to see that for real.
No, I honestly, I think that it's like it's probably just like the largest that just house show bullshit carny wrestling got.
Yeah.
And then there's like this phenomenon about it because they were just doing all these outrageous things, but none of it was good. If that makes sense at all. I mean, again, I had a lot of nostalgia and love for WCW stuff, and then go back and watch it, and man, there's some of it that is just unwatchable.
It's funny because, like, there's all these documentaries and stuff that came out after the fact, and it's like, oh man, it's great. The atmosphere is crazy, and like there were good matches, and they try to show you, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin was there for a minute having matches, and then, like, Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio's there, and, like, Dean Malenko's there, Taz, and it's like, that's such a small percentage of, like, all the content that they put out.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like, you'll watch 2 cards, like I did, and they had one match that was actually good in it that involved a couple of those people I just named, and the rest of it is just garbage. But like, somebody said on there something pretty interesting, and I'm starting to think they were right. It was like the super cards aren't really that good until like 97, 98-ish. But the TV is the thing to watch because you would see all the promos. And sometimes you would see a good match on there, which I started noticing when I was browsing on the Peacock thing. There's like in August, it's like there's different matches with Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, in like a 45-minute show. So, like, that happens like 3 or 4 times that month. So it's like, fuck, maybe I should have been watching the TV instead of the super cards. So I'm going to try that. But I also watched a couple more of the Steve Austin Broken Skull sessions, the ones with Mark Henry and Ric Flair. It seemed like he was having kind of a hard time getting Ric Flair to focus on anything.
He was probably drunk.
It was either he's drunk or he likes to just go off on tangents a lot, which I think he does even when he's sober. He just rambles kind of.
I mean, he's like 80 years old and probably has CTE. So I mean, in all fairness.
Yeah, he was in a plane crash. He probably got CTE from that alone.
Oh, sure. I mean, again, he's doing the best he can. I think there's only so much you can expect.
I'm not criticizing him because I think a lot of people for a few years now have known he has that tendency to just kind of ramble. Mm-hmm. But, the Mark Henry one was probably the better one, but there was just interesting stuff in the Ric Flair one for sure. I played some games too. I beat Blood Omen. That's probably like the 7th or 8th time I've beaten that game or something. Maybe 10. I don't know. I lost count after a certain point. I tried playing WWF Warzone and then I gave up. I was like, I have like weird nostalgia for those like early Acclaim games, you know.
Oh, me too. I loved that game. I played that so much on PS1.
I never beat it though. I didn't own it either. I kept renting it from a Blockbuster back then, and then like I never actually owned it. And then I got it somewhat recently, and I was like, I'm gonna try to beat this game. And I started doing the challenge mode, and I was gonna do it with Gold Dust because I was like, I'm gonna pick somebody that never won the world title, and that's like Gold Dust or fucking Farouk or Owen Hart. He never did either. I went with Gold Dust, and I beat like 4 people, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to quit, and we'll back out. It's going to save my progress. And then I tried to boot it up the next day, and it didn't save my progress, and I got mad, so I gave up.
That's tough, but yeah, that'll get you sometimes.
I don't understand it, because I thought I did everything right. I even double-checked after I backed out that it saved it. And I was like, okay, it saved it. Didn't. Maybe some other day I'll try to finish it. And I went back to playing Echo the Dolphin again, now that I finished my obligation of beating Blood Omen.
That's the way I felt. It was like, good, that's off my plate. Now I can play a game for real.
That's kind of where I'm at. Is like, I think I'm going to do Blood Omen, and then after that, I'll play Paper Mario. Because I just really wanted to play that game.
So there's an obligation. I people are counting on me. I'm going to do this one, and then it's time for fun.
Yeah.
I've made that game so many times. I can just kind of casually play it. I was playing other stuff on the side. Like I was taking breaks from it.
I had to focus. That game is hard.
It's tough. If you've never played it, it is a tough game. Like it's not that hard. That's why I was able to just tell you all this shit all the time casually because I beat it so many times. But you can play something on the side when you're playing Blood Omen. You don't have to just solely. I'd pick something shorter or not as demanding.
I guess I was playing all those Genesis games.
I mean, funny enough, I was planning to do that with Donkey Kong, but I really powered through it today and just finished it. So now, I guess I could start Paper Mario and play it while I'm at work, but oh well.
I'm not going to give you more thoughts on Blood Omen because that's for a big thing later. But Echo's still pretty cool to me, even though I have you still run into random things I noticed where it's like you have to do this one thing. And it's like really hard to do. Then you do it. Then it's like smooth sailing after that. It's like every other level, there's something. It's like, God damn it, this is annoying. And then you do it. And then it's like, okay, the game's fine again. But yeah, that's everything I did.
Okay. So, been chipping away at Severed Steel. Got up to a level that annoyed the fuck out of me. And I just put my Steam Deck down. And I was like, I am done gaming for these couple of days because work has been mentally destroying me to the point where I just don't want to do anything because I'm dreading about going back to work. And also I've been trying to refix me into my hobbies. So gaming I fixed well, I think, in my opinion, because usually when I beat something or I start something, and I'm thinking about it all the time, I want to play it. So I think I'm good on the gaming front. It's more of me getting back into TV shows again because I used to watch a lot of TV shows, even though I do talk about it a lot when it comes to watching it with my dad, but just me alone. I want to get back into watching that and then going back to comic books and manga and anime because my friend is reading the Gundam manga and he's trying to get me to watch the anime of Gundam, which it's so weird. Because I'm like, what's a starting point? And then they're like Origins. Okay.
I was going to ask, what Gundam manga is he reading, and what one is he asking you to watch with him?
Yeah, Origin was my guess, but best place to go.
He said Origin, and that's the good one that he's reading, it looks the Origin manga as well. So
that's a good starting point, honestly.
It is. Yeah, I just want to It's weird because I think this is more for me to like say as like talking to a therapist that I can't afford, but essentially, something's wrong. I don't know if it's ADHD, but I want to be with my hobbies again, and it's frustrating. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I get it.
Yeah, but as far as like watching, what has been getting my attention, which is really stupid, is Trevor Bauer videos and Eric Sims. So Trevor Bauer has a YouTube series where he like does these like cool challenges, and he also teaches you about like pitching and stuff, since he is a pitcher. And the MLB is screwing him after he just got cleared from his allegations. By the way, I was watching them do like at bats. So at bats are Eric Sims, who's a very large Asian person. He is the batter, and Trevor Bauer is the pitcher. And they have like a point system where if I strike you out, I get like 4 points. If I walk you, you get 2 points, and you get a free heater, meaning free fastball, because he has so many different pitches and stuff. So they did like a deal or no deal episode where they had like 9 cases and stuff, and every time the person won the round, they would have to like eliminate a case, and when they eliminate a case, they would show what's inside the case. So it would be like $10,000, and Trevor Bauer's like, who the fuck put that in there? Where am I giving 10,000? And then there's other things like a hot air balloon flight, which apparently the Asian dude hates being in heights, so that was like a thing for him. Long story short, they get to the end. There's a golden case, and they were down to 2 cases. So Trevor Bauer won the whole thing. So he said, all right, here's this case where you have to be like 24 hours to be my assistant, which means that you would have to wake up 6 a.m. to work with him and be his assistant, or choose whatever's in the golden case, because the golden case was the last one. So the Asian guy was like, no, I don't want to wake up at 6 a.m. So he's going to choose the golden case because that's going to be his punishment. So he opens up the golden case, and the Asian guy has to go to fat camp. And fat camp is you have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. So it was like fun to watch. I get into that. Some of the videos are annoying because the Asian guy screams a lot, and he curses a lot, even though I curse. But he when people over curse, where it's like, all right, chill, bro. I get it.
Yeah, it's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking garbage. But yeah, and I also put more ROMs on my Steam Deck. So I got Wild Arms on there. I got Parasite Eve 1 and 2.
Wild Arms.
I have Final Fantasy 8. I also have, what do you call it? I also put Blood Omen on there, even though I have it on GOG, so I have it twice on there for some strange reason.
However you like.
Double Blood Omen.
Yep.
Blood Omens.
And I got Siphon Filter because I like Siphon Filter.
I like the taser on Siphon Filter.
Yeah.
Fire.
And then they just like screaming while they go on fire. I love it. But yeah, that's me just trying to figure out my brain and gaming a little bit. But yeah, that's all for me.
Well, that'll do it. That's everything we've done. Remember, follow us on iTunes and Google and Spotify and everywhere, and of course now on YouTube you can see us recording it with all the flubs, all the edit outs. You'll get the inside sneak peek. Where else can they follow? I'm still trying to remember.
Well, you just said YouTube. We're on Google, Spotify, literally everything on Red Circle. Shoots out our podcast to everywhere. It also shoots out to like podcast grabbers like Podbean and all that stuff. So
Podcast Addict.
Yep, that too. I also see that in our stats, which is cool to see.
But yeah, we're gonna be back next week, and we're gonna be watching Detroit. So watch Detroit. I'm sure it's on something. I don't know, you'll figure it out. You're smart. You listen to the show. You're a smart person.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope it's about Barry Sanders.
I hope Eminem's in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't think it's about Barry Sanders though.
All right.